So we're doing note solving linear systems substitution. This is going to be page 31 of your notes. Okay. It's going to be using your algebra skills and no real calculator. So like if you need a calculator for basic operations, that's just your standard calculator, but we're going to focus on algebra skills. Okay. So these are the steps that we follow for substitution. Step 1 is we solve one equation for one of the variables, and you want to solve for your easiest variable. That's the key thing, is you want to look for what's easy. Okay. Step 2, we're going to substitute the expression for this first variable into the other equation. So the key thing here is substitute. Okay. So we're going to substitute, and then we're going to do some more substitution, and then we solve, and then we check our work. Okay. Hence why it's called substitution. Notice that 2 of the steps involve substituting something into another. Okay. These steps should be at the top of your paper, and these are the steps that we're going to follow. All right. So our example that we have 4x plus 3y equals 10, and we have x plus 2y equals 10. Okay. The first thing we want to look for is what is the easiest one to get by itself. So step 1 is to solve for one variable. For this problem, the easiest one to get by itself is x in the second equation. So we're going to get x by itself. So we have x plus 2y equals 10. What do I need to do to get x by itself? I'm going to subtract the 2y. In order to get x by itself, I'm subtracting 2y. And this leaves me with x equals 10 minus 2y. So that's step 1. Okay. Step 2 says to substitute this into the other equation. So what x is, I'm going to put into the other equation where the x is. So this is where we substitute. So we're substituting in for x. So instead of writing 4 times x, we're writing 4 times 10 minus 2y. So we have 4, and we're substituting in with 10 minus 2y. So instead of an x, we wrote this. And now everything else is the same. Plus 3y equals 10. And now we're going to solve for y. In order to solve for y, what do I need to do? Starts with the D. I actually need to distribute. Y'all remember that word? 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 plus 3y equals 10. Okay. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I have negative 8 and 3y. What does negative 8 and 3y make? Negative 5. Good job. So I'm still trying to get y by itself. What's left to do? I'm going to subtract 40. I'm going to subtract 40 from both sides. I'm left with negative 5y equals negative 30. And now I can divide. Remember, before I can multiply or divide, I have to make sure that the variable's on the side by itself. So I divide by negative 5. What is negative 30 divided by negative 5? Positive 6, because a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I'm left with positive 6. So I know y equals 6. Step 3 is to take that y and you're going to substitute back into step 1. So I'm gonna, whatever I got in y goes back into step 1. So we know that x equals 10 minus 2y. And what do we know y is? 6. So we know x equals 10 minus 2 times 6. What is 2 times 6? 12. What is 10 minus 12? What kind of 2? Negative 2. So we have x equals negative 2 and we have y equals 6. If you are ever unsure whether you are right, step 4 tells you to check yourself. By checking yourself, you can choose either one of the original equations. So you can check yourself by using either one of the originals and substituting the two values in. So if I check myself with 4x plus 3y equals 10, I'm saying that x is negative 2 and y is 6. And I want to know, is this a true statement? I have negative 8 plus 18. If you owe me $8 and you have 18, what are you left with? 10. So therefore my answer is negative 2, 6. That's my solution. So we isolate, we substitute, we check. Remember I told you it was like a heavy on the algebra? Do you see what I meant? So it's all these little skills that you have being put together. Questions before we try another one? Okay, all we can do is try another one. Pay attention and ask questions. All right. So notice here, did I give y'all a different practice? Yeah. Un momento. All right, sorry for a little snafu. Okay, so these are your substitution examples. There's a difference between why we use substitution. So substitution is ideal when you have one variable almost by itself. So do you see how we have x almost by itself? And there's only one step needed to get x by itself? That's why we use substitution. So step 1 is we choose which one we're going to isolate. So we're going to use x minus 2y equals 5. What is the one thing I need to do to get x by itself? It's already negative, so I'm going to add. Remember, it's always the inverse operation. So we now have x equals 5 plus 2y. We're going to need that information here in a little bit. Step 2 is to substitute that in to the other equation. So step 2 is where there's an x, I'm now putting in 5 plus 2y. So we have 4, but instead of x, we have 5 plus 2y plus 3y equals 9. And we're going to do like we did before. Distribute, combine like terms, subtract, divide. So we're distributing, combining like terms, subtracting and dividing. Distribute, distribute. Gives us 20 plus 8y plus 3y equals 9. Combine like terms. Gives us 20 plus 11y equals 9. Subtract. Gives us 11y equals negative 11. Then we divide. So we get y equals negative 1. What are your questions? Okay. So now we're going to take this y equals negative 1 and we're going to substitute back into the original, back into the first step. So we know that x equals 5 plus 2, but instead of y, what do we have? Negative 1. So we have x equals 5 minus 2. And what is 5 minus 2? 3. So we have x equals 3. So we have our x, we have our y. So 4 is where we check. I want to make sure that 3 comma negative 1 is my answer. So I'm going to go back to this equation and I'm going to plug it in and test it. So we have 4 times 3 plus 3 times negative 1, and it needs to equal 9. What's 4 times 3? 12. What's 3 minus 1? 3 times negative 1? Negative 3. Does 12 minus 3 equal 9? Yay, it does. So that means we did it right. Okay, so you're going to do number 2. And then we're going to check. Okay, so step 1 was you work with the equation that has the variable easy to get by itself. So that would be your x plus 2y equals 12. To get x by itself, what do I need to do? I subtract the 2y. And that leaves me with x equals 12 minus 2y. Right? Okay. Questions about step 1? Okay. Step 2 is you're going to substitute this in for x, right? So we have 7x minus 3y equals negative 1. This becomes 7 times 12 minus 2y minus 3y equals negative 1. Now our goal is to get y by itself. So we distribute and we get 7 times 12 is 7 times negative 2 is negative 14 minus 3y equals negative 12. We combine like terms. That gives us 84 minus 17y equals negative 1. So our goal is to get y by itself. So we subtract 84. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. And I'm left with negative 17y equals negative 85. Yes. Negative 14 and negative 3. They're the same sign. So that means you're combining them. Opposite signs you subtract. Same sign you combine. And then we divide by negative 17. And negative divided by negative is a. And we get y equals 5. So now you have your y. To get our x, we take the y and we're going to substitute it back in. So we're using x equals 12 minus 2y, but we know what y is. And y is 5 So we have x equals 12 minus 10, which is x equals 2. So therefore, our solution is 2, 5. And I can plug this in and verify it by checking it with either one of those. If it doesn't make a true statement, then that means I did something wrong. All right. That concludes today.